right, hello everyone and welcome to this Goodwill Meditation Group Webinar. Today is December 30th, and we are so glad to have all of you here today joining us and taking part in this work. As many of you know, this Goodwill Meditation Group Webinar meets subjectively, this Goodwill Meditation Group meets subjectively every Wednesday at noon in your local time zone. And we invite all of you to link up each week and to use the Goodwill Meditation individually or with groups in your local area to work intelligently and practically with this energy of goodwill. This webinar meets on the last Wednesday of each month, and it seeks to support the weekly work of the group and to introduce new members to its work. My name is Michael Galloway, and I am here today with my colleagues, Stephen Nation and Minsa Vanderveld. And prior to our group meditation today, we will each of us speak briefly on the theme, Goodwill in a Time of Renewal. Due to it being the holiday season, we will end after the meditation and forego our discussion period until the new year. So before we proceed any further, let us link together in thought and affirm our group integrity. After a moment of silence, we will sound together the mantra of the new group of world servers, followed by a single sounding of the Om. The mantra should appear on your screens. May the power of the one life pour through the group of all true servers. May the love of the one soul characterize the lives of all who seek to aid the great ones. May we fulfill our part in the one work through self-forgetfulness, harmlessness, and right speech. So with New Year's Eve occurring tomorrow, it is an apt time to consider the theme of goodwill and its relationship to renewal. All evolution proceeds in cycles. The end of a cycle, metaphorically a death, is necessary for the rebirth of life to occur in the next. This rebirth inaugurates a new cycle, which exceeds the state of growth achieved in the previous one. And this process is quite common throughout nature, and it also it is the basis of biological and spiritual evolution. The reincarnation of the human soul consists of thousands upon thousands of cycles of death and rebirth, which lead eventually to liberation and freedom from the constraints of form life. A metaphorical cycle of death and rebirth can also be observed in the life of humanity considered as a whole. Humanity, despite the diversity of its units, also progresses through peculiar stages of crisis, tension, expansion, of death and rebirth, just as does the individual. Without the clearing out of the old, the new cannot thrive. And to this end, goodwill is as much a part of the destructive process as it is part of renewal. In addition to its primary work of building right human relationships, goodwill also destroys or breaks down barriers. We know that the practice of goodwill is not the attaining of a passive or negative state of mind. And those who seek to work out this energy, to utilize it and apply it in human relationships, do not simply wait around for some divine messenger to sort out humanity's problems, nor do they expect it. In the end, of course, we know that humanity's problems are humanity's responsibility. Before breaking down barriers, goodwill first reveals their existence and their nature. This work of revelation, of making known and clear, highlights the importance of vertical contact with the soul, which any sound meditation form seeks to bring about. It is the light of the soul, the true self, which reveals reality in its essence, as unified, whole, and with all grades and manifestations of the one life in constant, unimpeded communication. Today, cleavage or division within our societies is increasingly caused by profound ideological disagreements. And for many, ideological disagreement is a matter of discriminating right from wrong and taking a stand upon the side of what they believe to be right. However, we must pause and ask ourselves, what does the will to that which is good, or goodwill, reveal in such a situation? Ideological barriers exist primarily in the realm of thought and attitude. However, when one's ideological allegiance is made an intrinsic part of their identity, the barrier comprises the entire threefold personality. Such an identification makes the personality, the individual, a sphere unto themselves. And though perhaps closer to those who claim a similar allegiance, they are cut off from the soul which knows itself at one with all souls. And of course, the discriminating mind must separate that which is true and good from that which impedes the good. Nobody can deny this. However, it's important to emphasize that the revelation which goodwill brings about is of the good which exists across the ideological spectrum, across the entire ideological spectrum. Today, there is no ideology, social, political, or economic, which is entirely good or bad. Just like the humanity that gave birth and existence to these ideologies, they are imperfect. Yet within all of them, there exists a hope, the hope of renewal. So the type of discrimination which the man or woman of goodwill strives to attain sees and recognizes whatever good does exist, even if this good is in an embryonic or imperfect state. And because they can see it, they then have both the privilege and the responsibility to speak this good into being and to cultivate it. This can be done through the written or spoken word, or even through one's actions, perhaps even just through the livingness that one brings to their daily life, into all of their personal relationships. It may, of course, and often does, involve calling out the bad for what it is, but this must be paired with the constructive work as well, and done with detachment, totally free from any sense of self-righteousness, and with the ultimate goal of redemption and reconciliation. Renewal then comes through the cultivation of goodness whenever and wherever it is found, even small words or actions given in the most unlikely of circumstances, unlikely of environments, can act as seeds. And as these seeds are cultivated, they 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 allow the springing, the welling forth of goodwill in others. For goodwill is, of course, contagious, and it's contagious because it has such an affinity with the human condition. It is for this reason and in this way that the many thousands upon thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands or even millions of small seeds of goodwill throughout the world will eventually blossom forth into a culture that spans the entire diversity of humankind, a culture of right relationship. And of course, it would be naive to think that this path, the path to this end would be without difficulty, without trials, and without profound conflicts. But it is precisely because of this difficulty that we must rise above sentimentalism, we must rise above despair, and we must rise above any sort of condition which impedes our faith in the future, our hope. Without hope, there can be no goodwill. For how can the will be active when there is no vision of the future and no motivation to bring it about? The expression of goodwill is an affirmation of our hope in the future. When applied with intelligence and with pure intent, it is the seed which will bring about a renewal of human culture adequate to the age which is now dawning. So I'd like to turn it over now to my colleague, Steve Nation. Steve, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you beautifully. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you, Michael. Those are interesting thoughts. There's a lot to think about. It seems so very fitting to be focusing our energies in this final webinar of the year on the theme of goodwill as a core driving force in post-COVID renewal. Because this theme of goodwill lines up well with the theme of the great conjunction that occurred in the night sky on December 21st on the solstice, when those two planetary lives, Jupiter and Saturn, appeared from our perspective, from the perspective of the Earth, to come together to form what looked like a dual planet. The degree of the alignment that took place then on this year was so very rare, and astrologers and wise philosophers throughout the ages have long interpreted this alignment as signifying profound change in human culture and civilization. So that's a sort of thought form through that's very alive at this time. That's at the heart of this focus on the post-COVID renewal. And this theme also lines up with yesterday's Capricorn full moon, which seems to have been of special significance given the traumatic crisis that humanity is currently immersed in. But most importantly, I think the theme goodwill in a time of renewal lines up with the simplicity and clarity of the meditation that is the purpose of these monthly webinars. After all, that's why we come together, that's why we assemble. For this is a meditation designed to use the powers of our group imagination invocation, and creative thought, to shine a light on the presence of the energy of goodwill in human affairs, as it is today, and to imagine a world in which this energy becomes the driving force and the keynote of post-COVID renewal. It's a meditation that helps us to see the abundant reservoirs of lighted, loving energies flowing from the higher worlds of consciousness into the human heart and mind, empowering and stimulating the native energies of goodwill, of practical, transparent applications in the world of love and concern for the well-being of the whole. The beauty of goodwill is it's not an idealistic vision of love, certainly not a sentimental vision. It's about the way in which we human beings attempt to implement a concern for the goodness and the wellness of others and of the whole environment. Imagine post-COVID renewal initiatives that are designed to stimulate the energy of goodwill in humanity, that energy that lies at the heart of any true breakthrough into a new order of creative, sustainable, regenerative communities, cities, nations, all in relationship with each other, and all learning and growing from the inevitable conflicts and tensions that arise through relationships. And as a way of anchoring this recognition of the importance of the goodwill meditation under the power of group imagination, I want to draw attention to two seeds which might be taken as signs that, given time, the post-COVID renewal will contain within itself a powerful nucleus of initiatives to foster a new spirit of relationship in the world, to foster something that can bring life and creativity and inspiration into the world of the local and the global, and can touch the heights as well as the depths of what it is to be human, to contain within our very being elements of spirit, soul, and earth. And so out of a multitude of possibilities, I want to shine a light on these two initiatives. And my suggestion is that as if as a symbol for the 124 of us, we might spend some time looking at websites, spend a little time to familiarize ourselves with these initiatives and take them as signs of the future rebuilding, building back post-COVID. Not building back, but building forwards. So let us acknowledge first Unesco's Futures of Education initiative. Led by an international commission, the initiative aims to rethink education and shape the future. It's catalyzing a global debate on how knowledge, education, and learning need to be reimagined in a world of increasing complexity, uncertainty, and precariousness. That's a quote from the website. The initiative operates under a keynote that the website highlights, and this might almost be a keynote for meditation. And the keynote is thinking together so we can act together to make the futures we want. The website, Unesco, to unesco.org, and then /futures of education. It includes a variety of ways in which individuals can participate in this process of rethinking education, as well as an ideas lab space, highlighting original scholarship and opinion pieces from diverse thinkers, news of events, and other knowledge resources. So the suggestion is that we can, as a group, visualize this initiative becoming a potent nucleus for a new spirit in education. And the other potent seed for a post-COVID renewal that I wanted to highlight that moves beyond policies to look to new thinking about future possibilities comes from the 2020 Human Development Report issued by the United Nations Development Programme on December 15th. This year's report is titled The Next Frontier, Human Development and the Anthropocene. For the first time in a relationship spanning 300,000 years, this is a quote from a website for the launch of the report. For the first time in a relationship spanning 300,000 years, instead of the planet shaping humans, humans are shaping the planet. This is the Anthropocene, the age of humans. The report looks at how humanity can navigate this new age, unpacking the relationships between people and the planet, and showing how our impacts on the earth interact with inequalities across societies. This is still quoting from the website. COVID-19 and its unprecedented effects on human development are a cautionary tale of the type of challenges we're likely to face in the Anthropocene, unless humans transform the way we interact with the planet. But the future is not set in stone yet. We have a once in a generation, an opportunity to choose to change, and the 2020 Human Development Report suggests a way forward. The report, for those who are interested, can be downloaded. It's widely available, and on the website it comes with a wide variety of resources on the building of this thought form about future possibilities. The website is in the very early on, I posted it in the chat box. You go to undp.org and the 2020 report. So friends, that's it. I thinking of you all, wishing you a wonderful, joyful new year. And I pass this over to my colleague, Mintza. Mintza, are you there?
I am there. I hope you can all hear me. Thank you very much for these very thoughtful impressions and suggestions. I just want to share a few thoughts here from Geneva. The past year was exceedingly difficult by any means. Violent conflicts, unchecked climate change, repression of political activity and other human rights violations, toxic populism dividing societies, and the once-in-a-lifetime health catastrophe, 2020 will have left a painful mark. But we can look at this from various perspectives. Let me just give one quote from Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus of the World Health Organization. He says, COVID-19 has exposed our societies, the problems we have, the level of inequity, the level of poverty, the level of exclusion. Going forward, investing in health will be a priority for all countries. All roads must lead to universal health coverage, to health for all. End of the quote. This is, of course, almost a human right and also one of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. Lucis Trust London organized a webinar of the 19th of December called A Ray of Hope. And it was about the fourth ray of harmony through conflict. It is this ray that typically characterizes humanity, forging harmony out of, or rather through, conflict. From that perspective, there are unmistakable reasons for hope. In that webinar, Sir Ken Robinson touched upon three concepts which will be of help in shaping a future world: imagination, creativity, and innovation. He stressed that not only artists are creative, but every human being has the potential of being creative, even though in many that creativity has not yet been developed. Ken Robinson defines creativity as the process of having original ideas that have value. The COVID crisis has pushed many people on all levels of society to increased creativity and cooperation. On the local level, people are helping their neighbors by shopping for them or just talking to them if they are alone. Hospital teams come to unprecedented levels of cooperation, which is valued by the population. Supermarket employees are in the spotlight, and their jobs, although previously taken for granted, are now valued as essential. Much of our lifestyle of a year ago has been shown to be non-essential because of lockdowns all over the world. But also on government levels, unprecedented relief packages have been approved, previously completely unimaginable. It is here that we see the energy of goodwill working out as love in action, again on all levels of society. Despite a very real worry about the state of multilateralism, countries around the world strongly reaffirm the importance of international cooperation and solidarity to deal with global problems. Most inspiring, perhaps, has been to witness the determination and courage shown by people in all regions to have a say in the way they are governed. From mass demonstrations against repression and corruption to record levels of participation in elections, women and men everywhere, young and old, refuse to give in to despair. This resonates with what Alexandra Cousins of Sokakagai International said at the Geneva part of last World Goodwill seminar. She said, when the will of young people to transform reality goes hand in hand with dauntless optimism, the possibilities are endless. There is no single simple answer to solve climate crisis, but as long as there is solidarity among young people, there is no impasse that we cannot overcome. End of the quote. Of course, the forces trying to re-establish the world as it always was are strong. Perhaps even we ourselves would like to see the world back in a state where it was a year ago. The challenges are huge. Yet, so many people have been touched by the current health crisis and thus been forced to think about things they never have done before, that this will enormously strengthen and enlarge the so-called new group of world servers. Many of the ideas of the new group of world servers are getting known by larger groups of human beings, thus strengthening the thought forms that will lead to a better world. This is, of course, what the Goodwill Meditation is all about. Before we go into that meditation, let me just conclude with some words of the United Nations, not the United States, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. In his speech for 2021, he said, "Together, let's make peace among ourselves and with nature, tackle the climate crisis, stop the spread of COVID-19, and make 2021 a year of healing. Healing from the impact of a deadly virus. Healing broken economies and societies. Healing divisions and starting to heal the planet." With these thoughts, I give you back to Michael.
Thank you, Mensa. So without further ado, let us go into meditation. Goodwill Meditation. We link in thought with all those people throughout the world working with this Goodwill Meditation Group. We reflect upon the fact of relationship. You are related to your family, your community, your nation, the world of nations, the one humanity made up of all races and nations. We sound together the mantra of unification. The souls of all are one, and I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve and not exact due service. I seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life and all events, and bring to light the love that underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all people love. We reflect upon our own and humanity's relationship with all beings who dwell in the higher realms of mind and heart, the spiritual hierarchy of saints, rishis, bodhisattvas, masters, which are honored by all the world's religions and spiritual groups. Imagine that you are standing within the center of the spiritual hierarchy, immersed in the consciousness of the heart of love. For some, this heart of love is known as the Christ. Other faiths have other names for the one at the center, such as Maitreya, the Imam Mahdi, and the Kalki avatar. Maintaining that high point of contact, let your thoughts reach out to include all members of the human family in whom the energy of goodwill is active. We silently use the affirmation of love. In the center of all love, I stand. From that center, I, the soul, will outward move. From that center, I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group, and throughout the world. Visualize the energy of love flowing from the hierarchy through the men and women of goodwill and into the hearts and minds of all people, infusing them with goodwill and creating loving and harmonious human relationships. Meditate on ways of spreading goodwill, creating right human relationships, and restoring peace on earth. Realize that you are helping build a channel between the spiritual hierarchy and humanity through which the energy of goodwill may flow, uniting humanity, solving its problems, and healing all differences and cleavages. While linked in thought with the men and women of goodwill all over the world, we sound together the great invocation. We sound it with deliberation and with full commitment to its meaning, knowing that we are radiating its potent energies to humanity. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Thank you everyone for joining us and for our work here together today. As I mentioned at the beginning, we will forego our discussion period and cut the meeting a bit short due to the holiday season. I just want to say that we at Lucis Trust wish all of you a wonderful and joyous new year, and we look forward to seeing you on the last Wednesday of January 27th, when we will reconvene again. Thank you. Good afternoon and good evening.